The Confederation of African Football (CAF) is the administrative and controlling body in Africa, established on 8 February 1957 at the Grand Hotel in Khartoum, Sudan by the National Football Associations of Ethiopia, Algeria, Egypt, Nigeria and South Africa. CAF organizes, runs and regulates national team and club continental competitions annually or biannually, such as the African Cup of Nations and Women's African Cup of Nations, which they control the prize money and broadcast rights to. Setting its light for African football, this organization holds its annual conferences, with Ethiopia hosting its 46th conference this year in Addis Ababa. During the welcome speech for the delegates all over Africa, Mayor Adanech Abiebie said Ethiopia has played the lion's share for the African football establishment.
Ethiopia's involvement in African football is not just a chapter in our history. It's a legacy rooted in the belief that sport, especially football, has the power to bring Africans together. From the very beginning, Ethiopia stood with its African brothers and sisters to shape the future of this beautiful game. 67 years ago, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) was established, and Ethiopia proudly became a founding member. In 1957, the first African Cup of Nations was held, a tournament that marked the start of a journey toward African football independence. Ethiopia was there, helping to place African football on the world map.
While speaking of the notable impacts Ethiopia has had on the rise of African football, Mayor Adanech Abiebie said Adanech Abiebie, whose name remains above the grave due to his immense contribution in the sport, is worth mentioning. Adanech Abiebie played a forerunning role quite tirelessly for the renaissance of African football.
The late son of Africa, Adanech Abiebie, hailed from his proud nation Ethiopia, embodied this dedication to African unity through sports. A true giant in African football, Adanech Abiebie worked tirelessly alongside his peers to ensure that African nations had the opportunity to showcase talent on the world page.
Sport, particularly football, is a giant force that brings various cultures, ethnicities and people together. CAF, in this regard, has also played a pivotal role in poking the sport with adjusting legal frameworks and formal methods. With the guiding principle of taking African beauties and solidarities out, the mayor further stated that Ethiopia's power and engagement has always been recognizable, especially for the Pan-African movement to flourish, indicating that Addis Ababa, as the diplomatic city of Africa, is also ready to play its responsibility.
Ethiopia's role in African football is a part of a grand narrative. As a nation, we have always placed Africans' interest at forefront. From the days of the Battle of Adwa, when we resisted colonialism, to our leadership in the Pan-African movement, Ethiopia has long been a symbol of resilience and solidarity. We have stood our African brothers and sisters both on the football field and in the struggle for freedom and dignity.
The annual conference of CAF will go on during the next days in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and many reputable sportsmen and various celebrities are expected to take part as well.